NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in freefall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. Back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void. And this is the first one from Finland, the new setup now no longer in the sandbox, and starting out with a complete and total rock star that I've been trying to get on the podcast for quite a while now. Tell me, who the fuck are you and what do you do?
What up? My name is Maxine Tate. I am blessed to be able to do what I love for a living as a full-time skydiver. I am a demo jumper, I am a canopy coach, and I wouldn't be doing anything else.
That's fantastic. And you and I have not seen each other in a very long time.
Goodness, no, it's been forever. I think you and I met the first time I made it out to Dubai.
Yep.
Which from memory, I think was 2013. It was my first ever international swooping competition.
Was that really?
And yeah, it was, because I started swooping, well, I'm sure we'll get into it more, but I started swooping in 2011 competitively, and I made the British team in 2013. And that was my first trip out, was for DIPC in 2013.
It was
and
quite the
that
spot,
was pretty
huh?
cool. It was a pretty awesome place to start my international swooping career.
Well,
and
yeah.
I got out there, and it was my birthday, in fact, the first day we made it to the drop zone, and my teammate Martin Reynolds hooked me up with a trip up in a Huey for a cheeky little hop and pop to celebrate my birthday and go check out those skyscrapers. So that was an amazing way to start my trip to Dubai.
Yeah, that's a hell of a way to get the initiation into the Dubai drop zone. In 2013, that would have been was it the DIPC or was that the Mondial? It wasn't Mondial. Mondial was 2012.
No, Mondial. Yeah, exactly. No, the 2013 was the DIPC.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I had just started flying there not that long before, so we were both pretty new to the sandbox back then.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I seem to remember you and we went to. I can't remember how we met, but we were off in your car, so we went to some concert gig or something. It might well have been the opening ceremony. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was the opening ceremonies. That's right.
Yeah.
We did the opening ceremonies, and then I think we did a little bit of bar hopping on the way back.
Yeah, fun times.
So,
yeah, it's good to see you again, friend. Good to see you again.
And you as well. Now, so as per usual with the podcast, let's jump you all the way back. I want to know how you got started, not necessarily just in skydiving, but in anything extreme.
Well, yeah, that's interesting, actually. It's so nice doing these things because I get a chance to reflect like I haven't done for a long time. So
sure.
If you want to go way, way back, I guess I've been doing sports at least on a competitive level since I was literally a kid. And it started at the age of 5 when I learned how to ride horses. So if you want to start there, that was not a lot of people know that.
All right.
For some reason, I guess I was really into the idea of riding horses. You know what it's like when you're a kid,
sure.
shiny things. I want to do that. And my folks have always been amazing at being able to support anything that me and my sister wanted to do. And so I started riding horses and my sister too. And that became a really huge part of my life. And so I actually competed in horse riding as my very first sport.
Wow.
My family actually moved to Portugal when I was 8 years old. I've been riding for several years. And it was the new thing out there. So we got hooked up with a stable and I was allowed to go and ride everybody's horses. There's a bunch of expats there. They all had horses. So I had like the run of the stable and I competed at a very high level. In fact, up to national level when I was a kid. So that was the first thing I ever did. Yeah.
Now, what kind of, I only know very, very little about horse riding, but was it dressage? Is that what they call it?
I hated dressage. I like to go fast. You know how I roll. So the idea of doing something disciplined like that was so boring. But yeah, there was 2 things I guess I competed in. My favorite was show jumping, so going over the jumps.
Okay, yeah.
Against the clock. No surprise there. That was my favorite. And then we do things called the 3-day eventing, which is basically cross country, which is balls to the wall. Love that stuff too. And then the dressage, which I was kind of bad at, and then the show jumping. So yeah, it was one hell of a way to grow up, actually. I mean, I literally lived on the stables for years of my life as a kid.
Teaches you an awful lot, though, doesn't it? I mean, especially when you're working with big animals like that, you have to learn how to navigate safely, so to speak.
Totally. It's like working in a team, and the team is you and the horse, you
right?
know? And it's a relationship that's built on trust and generosity and patience. And yeah, I loved it.
Do you think that's...
And it was beautiful out there in Portugal as well. Like we used to ride on the sand dunes in the forests and go, what a way to grow up. It was such a gift.
Sounds fucking horrible.
Yeah.
So
that was my very, very first sport that I ever did. And my family was out in Portugal probably until I think it was till I was about 12 years old. And then we had to come back to the UK. And I continued to jump all the way up through university. And I competed for my university, which is the London School of Economics and University of London. And then I stopped riding really from about 21 because I went to work in the city and I was done with that. But from the age of like literally 5 to 21, I lived my life on horseback.
Oh, nice. So now you just mentioned university. What were you going to be when you grew up?
Well, I guess I was what I wanted to be when I grew up for a while until I discovered skydiving. But I did an economics degree at the London School of Economics, and then I joined one of the big business consultancy and accountancy firms, and I was the British equivalent of a CPA. And
really,
yeah. So then I became a finance director and as chief operating officer. So I have a big finance and corporate background in the city and in the film and television industry before I became a skydiver.
Really?
Yeah.
I fucking love the backstories. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's these kick-ass superhero backstories, but they turn out to be your friends. And I never know when I ask that question, what the hell is coming? So I would have never pegged you as a CPA ever. So
Yeah.
that's a quite a leap to go, no pun intended, quite a leap to go from that to professional skydiving.
Well, yeah, I guess it was, and it's interesting because but my massive pivot, I guess you could say, from working in London to becoming a full-time skydiver came as a result of, well, my first interaction with skydiving was while I was at university. Like, this is back in the late 80s, and there's a bunch of people we know that were part of this time as well, like Regan Tetlow, Mark
Yeah.
Kirkby. These are all people that were back in the UK at this time, and the big thing to do, and we're all similar age, believe it or not. And I don't think I can get away with that anymore. We're at the age where in the late 80s you could raise a bunch of money and go down to the drop zone and make a jump, like a charity jump.
Sure.
So being the person who was big into sports, and I did all sorts of other sports when I was a kid too, field hockey, netball, whatever. I was definitely the sports person. I'm like, I'm into it. I want to go do this skydive. My dad was a commercial pilot. That's another story, in the Fleet Air Arm Navy pilot. So I definitely had that background. I'm like, I'm into it. I want to go do this charity skydive. So I raised my money and I went down to the drop zone, which was Headcorn in the UK. And this is like, I think it was probably 1989, something like that. So I was 19 years old or something like that. And it was basically, this charity skydive was a static line jump on a big ass military round. Yeah, you're laughing. You know what I mean? Good grief. But this is not modern technology. You know what I'm saying? This is old school. I have so much respect for airborne. My God. Anyway, so, I got trained. I did a 1,000,001 PLFs on one of those pulley things. And the bottom line was the weather was bad, or there was some reason why we couldn't jump, and I must have made 6 or 7 trips down to the drop zone down in Kent to try and make this freaking skydive. And I only remember this the other day when I was on another podcast, there was a fatality there when I was waiting to do my skydive. And I think it was some poor woman landed and got picked up in a gust and into a taxiing plane. I mean, it's a hardcore. Yeah, really bad, right?
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten about that until recently. Anyway, they shut down Headcorn, and I don't remember for how long. It might have been a couple of months, or I don't know, whatever it was. It's a long time ago now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And anyway, I went back. It didn't affect my curiosity, I guess. I went back and I eventually got to make the jump. And the experience for the jump for me wasn't the best, in the sense that it was great to jump out of a plane. It was super low, but I just remember having very little control of this parachute, like none virtually.
Sure.
Being the big military round, and I came down pretty hard and classic PLF. And I just remember thinking, I don't think I have the interest to go up and do that again and again. The complete opposite of virtually all my friends that are like, that was it for me. I'm like, it was not for me. I tell you, I came down and I felt like, yep, check the box, move on.
Right.
And I did. And that was it for me. So that was 1989. I made one skydive, and I didn't think about skydiving for the next 15 years.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm off to the city. I'm making a living. I'm doing my thing, in London, in the media industry, blah, blah, blah. I take a career break, and I'm a big fan of the idea of taking a break once in a while, regularly during your working career to go off and explore. I'm a very curious person. So I went to Australia, New Zealand, South Pacific, blah, blah, blah. And when I'm in New Zealand, I come across a drop zone and I see a tandem skydive. And I think, oh, that's exactly what I thought this was all about. Sure. I sign up and I make a tandem jump on the spot. And that was my moment where I'm like, that's it. This is what I thought it was all about. You get to experience the free fall. You get to experience the canopy control and land beautifully on tippy toes. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm interested in. For sure. I can't believe I missed it out all these years, but this is what I want to do. Sure. And that to me just made a huge pivot in my life when I got back to the UK and decided that I wanted to learn to skydive. So took a friend of mine, we went to Leo, and that was the place where a lot of the Brits were going because the weather's, it's challenging in the UK to learn. So I didn't want to do static line for sure. You know what I'm saying? I want to do AFF. I want to go full on as fast as possible into this new sport that I've discovered.
Right.
And so we go down to Leo, and this is an interesting one. You'll appreciate this. My very first AFF level 1. Guess who the secondary instructor was?
Oh, please tell me.
Pablo.
No.
Pablo Hernandez. No, I am not joking. It was Pablo, and he looked like 12.
Yeah,
He
right.
wasn't 12. He wasn't 12. He was close to it. I think he was like 17 or 18 at the time, but he was my secondary instructor. And Brian Vasher was working at the drop zone at the time. He was doing canopy courses and stuff out there. So yeah, I went out there to Leo for my first skydiving experience and got Pablo on my jump. So that was pretty funny. So
How
he and I have
crazy
known
is
each
that?
other for a long time. Yeah, for sure. It's awesome.
I mean, I know it's a small world and it's a very, very small sport, but it never ceases to shock me just how small it can be.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
So that was, yeah, what a wonderful coincidence, right? So I got to meet Brian and Pablo, who now are both, my colleagues at Flight One all
Sure.
these years later, right when I started skydiving for real this time. So I got my license back in 2004 at Leo and came back to the UK and just tried to find as much skydiving related stuff to do as possible, including, and this will blow your mind, going to the Vegas tunnel.
Oh, no.
Which I think you are familiar with.
I've been in there once or twice.
Exactly. So that was super funny. I was doing a trip because I was in media, so I used to go over to LA every year, and I was like, all right, what's going on in the States in skydiving? I know there'll be something going on. So 34 jumps in, I find one of the few tunnels open at the time. This is probably 2005, I think, or so maybe 2004.
Yeah.
And I go fly in the I Fly Away, whatever it's called, Vegas
Fly
tunnel,
away.
big,
Yeah.
big ass clown suit, and yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't help a
Experience.
damn bit when it comes to skydiving or modern
No, not
tunnel
at
flight,
all.
but it's a lot of fun.
Goodness, yeah. So that it was different for sure. But I remember like being all over the place and falling out a bunch and thinking, well, that was interesting. But it was cool, because like there weren't a lot of tunnels around at the time. So that it was cool to try something new for sure.
That was always my favorite part about that, was especially because I was an instructor at the tunnel, but a low-time skydiver, is we would get skydivers come in that sucked in the tunnel, because flying and flyaway is not about flying your body, it's about flying the suit.
No, for sure.
It's all about flying cloth. But for me, that was a great transition because I turned into a camera flyer. So I kind of already knew how to fly wings.
Yeah.
So
yep.
You've rediscovered your joy for skydiving. You've gone out and made the tandem. You're still working as an adult doing the real thing. That had to make it pretty easy though, because it sounds like you had a proper career going on. So
I did.
Being able to get into skydiving wasn't the financial burden that it is for a lot of people.
True. And it's like a lot of my friends that are in skydiving and have been since the year dot, I have a lot of admiration for them because they've had to try and find a way to make that happen for themselves in skydiving, which is, very hard to do to create some kind of financial stability. Whereas I came from the other way around. It's like I put my work in, I had that career. And, it's this, my friends use this phrase, we do this so we can do that,
Sure.
And that was the case then. But at that point, I'm like, well, I don't want to do this so I can do that anymore. I'm done. What do I want to do with my life? And at that point, I had to make a decision whether I was going to continue really pushing it in my career or whether I was just going to do a complete pivot. And it just comes to this idea of what makes you feel fulfilled in life. And I spoke about this the other day. Time makes me more fulfilled than money, frankly. Sure. I think I was beginning to realize that. And I decided it was time to change. And so I jacked in the job and moved to Eloy.
You gotta love that. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I suppose most, especially working skydivers, have decided that money is a necessary evil, but it's not the end game. Like, I don't know too many skydivers that are about the money. They're about the money that they need to get that next rig or canopy,
exactly,
or jumps, but it's just a means to an end.
Yeah, money is the tool to generate more time in your life to be more fulfilled. And that was definitely a clear point in my life where I made a commitment to that. And when one door closes, another opens. And I'm a firm believer in that. Like, I believe in my abilities. I can always go back and do what I did for a living. And in fact, I ended up doing that at Flight One, running the business. So, you can always fall back. You can always fall back on them. On your past experiences if you need to.
Sure.
But that gives me the ability to be able to feel really good about moving forward and exploring opportunities.
Sure. Well, that's another thing that skydiving tends to do though, right? Is you're in the community and you are a skydiver, but then they find out you have skills outside that, and somehow you always get wrapped into using those skills somewhere else.
Well, I was looking for that. So I mean, but I moved to the States. Or I didn't move to the States. I just came to Eloy at the time, and I was trying to find, at that point, I just wanted to be a full-time skydiver. So I basically became an instructor and a tandem videographer. And there was a trip to Australia at the time, but in there in between, but that's maybe not the most important part of my story. I ended up in Rayford, and I was working there as an instructor and a videographer. And I think I realized at that point that being a full-time skydiver only is really hard. You've got to have your finger in an awful lot of pies in this industry if you're going to keep your head above water. And it's, of course, very, very weather dependent, even with working and coaching in the tunnel as well. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I've tried the full-on career in the city. I tried the full-on skydiver. Maybe I need to find something that's a happy medium. And that's where working at Flight One came in. And it just so happened that I was lucky enough to meet a good friend of mine, Annie Peterson, was dating this dude called Shannon Pilcher. And Shannon was at that point was like, they were looking to their company had been going, Flight One had been going for 4 years, and it was really growing, but they didn't have the business experience that they were looking for to help organically grow the company in a controlled manner with good oversight and financial analysis and all the rest of it. And so Annie introduced me to Shannon, and that's how it all started. Which was again a perfect timing, as I was looking to move from Rayford and do something else, and Shannon was looking for someone with exactly my skill set. And there you go.
It does seem to kind of happen that way. I suppose it happens in every walk of life, but it seems to happen so often in skydiving that shit just kind of works out.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. I'm going to put a little bit more to that, because I think it's not just coincidence. And I had this kind of clarity when I was chatting with Eliana the other day, and on our Highlight Conversations version of it. If you are there and you are visible, and you show up regularly, people start to see you and see what you can do. And then when the opportunities arise, you're there for them. You see what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's not all just coincidence. There's a lot to be said for just showing up and being visible. And so I think we have some impact in those moments of great karma as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'd like to say that I've been lucky over the years, but the fact is I was also there. I was making my presence known for good or bad, one way or another. You get some opportunities, again, positive or negative, but definitely. Now, I wanted to actually go back to when you pulled the trigger on walking away from what the real world considers the proper career and the proper trajectory for one's life. Do you think that growing up doing stuff like the horseback riding and then becoming a skydiver, do you think it makes it easier to make such a scary decision?
Oh, sure. And I don't know if it's necessarily the sports side of it, but I don't really have any fear of the classic idea of failure. That doesn't really bother me. I'm just curious and I want to try something. And I have complete and utter belief in my ability to be able to keep my head above water. I think it's worth trying things you've never done before just to see what you can do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that I've got that classic word pivot that we've all learned to appreciate in the pandemic. It's been a factor of my life forever. And I find there's far more fulfillment in trying new things and seeing, try it on, see if it fits. And if it doesn't, then go find another door to walk through,
Sure. Absolutely. It's
to me, it's a freedom of a certain mindset,
I completely agree. I mean, I know that for myself personally, I can make decisions that for some of my friends are absolutely terrifying, nail biting, weeks and months long processes that I just go, fuck yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of that I think is just how we're wired. And then I think part of it is maybe not so much the sport, but the mindset that you have to get into to accept being a full-time skydiver. I mean, we have to make snap decisions and live with the consequences of those decisions every jump.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you just, not everything works out, but it's not the end of the world, right? I think a certain degree of perspective on life is important. I've certainly made some decisions and done some stuff that wasn't for me, and I've moved on, and that's okay.
Sure.
And I've created a life for myself where I don't have dependence or what have you, so I can make. I don't have to compromise what I want to do, and that's just the way I've chosen to live my life.
Which is, I got to respect that. Now, I want to talk about swooping. Because when you and I met,
Yeah.
this was 2013, and you were
Yeah.
basically kicking it all off. So where did you just go, all right, this is my discipline. This is my next step?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point in my life for sure, because I just moved to the States. I'd been competing actually in 8-way FS at the time, believe it or not. That was another life. And a team of 9, holy crap. Mind you, I loved my time as an 8-way jumper for sure. I loved it, but it was a lot, you know.
Sure.
And I came to the US, I was working as a videographer and instructor. And honestly, at that point, I was beginning to be relatively known. And I recognized that my canopy piloting skills were not great, honestly, compared to everything else. That I was a really good body flyer, but my canopy piloting skills were mediocre. And I, as someone who was an instructor and a mentor, I felt like I needed to work on those to be able to be a good example to others. So
Sure.
I started to work on my canopy handling skills and got better, because that's what happens when you do the work.
Right.
And then in my classic kind of curious nature, I'm like, okay, what's next? Done that. What else can I do? And I'm on a drop zone. I see people swooping and I'm like, I want to try that. I was jumping an inappropriate canopy at the time for swooping. I think it was a Pilot 132 or something like that. Started trying to huck myself at the ground, you know, and ended up hip checking myself. And I had to put myself into timeout. What the fuck are you doing with your, you know? And then I was like, okay, I need to take my own advice here, which is basically take it slow, get coaching, blah, blah, blah. Bought a Katana 120, far more appropriate, and got coaching.
Nice.
And that's when, and I spent a solid 600 plus jumps on that Katana. And I learned to swoop properly all the way up to a 270 before I even moved on from that. So
nice.
I learned my lesson. I got away with it, at least that time. I've had my injury since for sure, but I got away with it. And at that point, that's when I moved to DeLand and joined Flight One. And it's always been a theme of mine, Dean, to be surrounded by people who are far more experienced than me. I'm a curious person. I like to learn, and I really like being the person with the least amount of experience. I'm totally okay with that. I've never been someone who appreciates being a big fish in a little pond. You can't grow from there, right?
Right.
So I put myself surrounded by the best canopy pilots in the world and the best instructors in the world, and they were kind enough to share their knowledge with me, which again is another way of showing how the example of others can influence you. And I arrived in DeLand, and Rusty Best at PD invited me over to PD, because obviously Flight One, PD factory team is all very close, and said, welcome to DeLand, what can we do for you? And I said, thank you, I'll take a velo. and that's when I moved on to a cross race, started getting help from all of my friends and colleagues at Flight One, and that's where my swooping career started.
That's fantastic. I love that your swooping career started by scaring yourself and putting yourself in a timeout.
Yeah,
I like that. It's a great mentality to put yourself in a situation where that could have been dramatically worse. I need to take a step back, think about it, and figure out how to get better, instead of going, fuck that, I need a bigger parachute, that scared me.
I mean, you know, you learn by your own mistakes, and then you hope that others can learn by your mistakes as well. So I'm glad I get a chance to share that kind of stuff. You know, I'll share another one just so other people, because I'm, you know, that people only ever see the glory stuff. But boy, I've certainly had my share of crappy experiences as swooping too. The probably the biggest accident, not the biggest, but the most obvious accident I had was just after I downsized. So I'm in DeLand, and I'm flying. I just went from a comp velo 90 to a comp velo 84. I'm out doing my 270s or whatever, and it was a new parachute. I hadn't done the exercises to controlled exercises. How do you flare out of a turn? Understanding the toggle pressure you need to get out of a turn. I turned too low. I went to my rears. I realized I was still low. I went to my toggles, and I didn't flare hard enough, and I clipped my knees on the way through. And that was the first kind of like big accident I had, I guess, as a swooper. And why? Because I downsized and I didn't go up and do the exercises to recognize the additional speed and the additional toggle pressure you need to get out of a dive. My mistake. So, you know, like all the stuff we preach, I've been there, I've made the mistakes, and I've learned from them, you know. So again, let other people learn from my mistakes.
Well, it's kind of funny though. A lot of the swoopers that I've talked to, the common theme is they went big and hard and downsized crazy fast and did all the classic mistakes, but got away with it. And you hip checked yourself once and spent 600 jumps on a katana, making sure you had that shit dialed, which is a different mentality.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I'm gonna point out how my framework is different, but had the same result. I still had the injuries, but I was a very conservative pilot, and that to me is actually an incredibly important point, because I've had this with many people before. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself conservative or not in your progression, you're still at risk.
Sure.
And so I've had that too many times where people are like, especially full-time skydivers that come to me and say, can you teach me to swoop? Classic. Well, I guess, of course I can. Are you ready to accept the risk that you're going to put yourself in? Because, you may well end up with an injury and you make money jumping out of planes or whatever. Are you ready for it? And for the person, I've had too many folks say to me, but I'm really conservative under canopy. And you know what? It doesn't make a difference. We are all at risk.
Sure.
And you've got to be able to accept that, do the work, and then recognize that it also could be you. So
that's the big thing, right? It's acknowledging it to yourself, not to anybody else. That's the hard part.
You can't imagine being in the corner yourself until you've actually done it.
Been
because
there.
Like, how could I screw up so badly or whatever? And it's like, you can, because
Yep.
we're all human and we all make mistakes all the time.
Yep. I remember one jump in particular that I've talked about on the podcast before. A mutual friend, you would know Cornelia quite well, was watching me do my little 270s that I've done forever and having fun with it. And she decides that she's going to give me tips on how to do a 450. And I go up and I make it about 270 degrees through the 450. And I was like, no, there is not a chance. I bailed out on it, landed, and she's like, what the fuck, dude? And I'm like, no, you have got much bigger balls than me. That shit's not for me.
And so, I mean, I don't want to be like super, I'm not trying to be negative about swooping. I'm just being realistic. And like at the end of the day, I think the first kind of couple of years that you get into swooping are the time when you're most at risk, because you haven't seen the sight picture of what it's like to be low and to be in trouble. And certainly, the dings that I've had from swooping have all been pretty much in the first 2 or 3 years, and then
Sure.
not so much after that. When you learn more and you're a bit more experienced, then the risk is always going to be there, but it's a little bit more mitigated through your own experience.
Well, I mean, it's kind of that 100 jump wonder syndrome, right? You hit that sweet spot at the beginning where you think you've got stuff dialed, and then you learn how little you really know.
Oh, for sure. It's the power of knowing what you don't know, as they say.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've had Nick on a couple of times, and I mean, to hear him talk about some of the horrendous accidents, and the healing that's gone on. And this is a guy that's been at the top of his game for quite some time.
Oh, sure.
So you have to, I mean, anybody that thinks it's not going to be them is just kidding themselves.
Yeah. And especially now in swooping, with the kind of speeds that they're getting on the mutant. And the recovery arc of that mutant, what that looks like, it's a whole different ball game. And that's the respect. What are
the speeds that are being hit now?
They're actually close to 100 miles an hour across the ground now. Like they were definitely getting over 100, I think, in the vertical speed in a normal harness. But as soon as you put the mutant on and you reduce the drag in the body profile, it's a whole different ball game. So
I mean,
it's funny. Our equipment in swooping has progressed so much now. I wonder what they're going to do with the courses. I feel like the courses they're having to mitigate the courses to deal with the higher performance of the pilots and the equipment. So I don't know. I think it's time for a redo.
I mean, yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, in the amount of time that you've been in the sport, and you and I have got a similar amount of time in the sport, it seems like the progression with canopies is just been exponential over the last 10 years or so. It went, for the longest time, the stiletto was the baddest fucking canopy on planet Earth, and everybody was flying a stiletto, and then it just took off like a rocket. And then, PD and NZ Aerosports have been fighting it out for the last 15 years.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, competition is the best thing for the pilots because it provides innovation. But in the time I was in swooping, I think I did my first competition in 2011 on a comp velo 90, and I was jumping a Peregrine 71 when I retired. And so that everything in between there is like, that's one hell of a change. You know what I mean? Like Peregrine's freaking badass canopies. Oh my God, they're so much fun. But yeah, they're a handful for sure. But I don't fly a Mutant. You know, it's
Sure.
interesting. Like the idea of being in a turn and literally being perpendicular to the ground, like you're standing, coming down in those turns. That's a whole other ball game, man.
Yeah.
I'll stick with my speed wings. I'm quite happy to fly a supine harness here in the mountains in Utah, and I love doing that. But
Yes,
yeah,
there you go.
Respect, like I said, respect.
It blows me away watching the canopies that are being flown nowadays, and I'm almost nervous to watch modern canopies because they fly in a way that I, as a skydiver, have never experienced. I've never flown those canopies. I was never current enough to be flying that stuff. So to watch it from the ground, it blows me away.
Currency is a huge thing. I like it with especially with the Peregrines, Petras, whatever it is you're flying, HK2. I remember thinking if I went a month, like 4 weeks maybe, without flying my PI, I felt uncurrent on it.
Yeah.
Like literally a matter of weeks, you know, because it's such a high performance wing.
Well, I mean,
it's fun.
It's got to be. It's got to be. And yes, I completely agree. Good. Currency has got to be. It's tops on my list of important, especially when it comes to canopy stuff. Short story. It broke my heart, and maybe a month ago now, I was in Nepal when they had Everest Skydive going on, and PH, who runs the show out there, I was helping out as my timing with my trek happened to work out real well, so I could be there, and I was trying to help out where I could. And PH turns to me as they're 30 minutes from sending a load and asks me, are you current? And I have had 2 neck surgeries and haven't jumped in a year and a half. And I went, please tell me you're not asking me what I think you're asking me. And he's like, well, it would be a hop and pop from 22,000 feet, but there's a slot. And I had to turn it down.
Yeah, that's smart, man. I mean, like doing a jump at that kind of altitude
broke my fucking heart.
Next time, buddy. Next time. There you go.
Yeah. Though I told him, I'm like, I've got that on tape now. I'm gonna make sure that I call you on that offer. Now, speaking of speed, you started speed skydiving.
Yep.
What
addict much?
Right. I mean, add that to the list, right?
Okay. All right. So the story behind that is in 2017, I decided that I was going to 2017 was a big year for me. I managed to go. I went to the World Games for the UK, wearing the UK jersey for swooping. That to me is always going to be like it was my biggest goal.
For sure.
In swooping is to be able to go to the World Games. It's about as big as you can get when it comes to our sport. It's about the equivalent of the Olympics. It was amazing.
Sure.
And I've been swooping and competing for like 7 years or something like that. And I was beginning to feel that I wanted to move on, just because it's such an amount of time when you train at that level, and it's a lot on the body and everything. And it's like, I think I've just hit the pinnacle of what I want to do personally.
Sure.
And I'm a curious person. I always want to learn something new. So I think, I'm going to be done. So 2018, I took a year off and took that time to decide what I wanted to do and what I felt was my next challenge, as it were, or whatever. It's important to ask yourself regularly what fulfills you. Otherwise, you can end up doing the same thing year after year. And what we like to do changes over time. So I think it's really important to check in with yourself regularly and be like, am I on the right path still?
Oh, yeah.
And I got to that point in swooping where I'm like, I don't think this is me anymore. I love the community and it's super fun and everything, but I think I want to try something new. So I ended up, I think I turned up to nationals. One of my sponsors said to me, why don't you try something else? We'd love for you to compete. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see, what could I do? And I wanted to try something that I'd never done before. I hadn't done any vertical skydiving. I'd maybe done 50 head up free fly jumps, and that's it.
Sure.
So I'm like, if I'm going to do something, I want to do something that I'm completely novice at from ground zero and see if I can learn from scratch. Maybe let me try a vertical discipline. How about speed skydiving? So that's really how that came about.
Okay.
I've always known that I can dive to a formation really, really fast in big wave stuff, flat stuff, but steep. maybe that's something I could try and it'll be fun. It's fast, whatever. So I rocked up at nationals in 2019 in Rayford and got there a little bit early and it's like, okay, I'm going to put like 20, 30 jumps in, see what I can do in this. Tried a bunch of different clothes. Like I did it in my swoop pants. I did it in a free fly suit, and I was all over the place. Oh my God, I was corking out left, right, and center. I didn't know what I was doing on my head. I had no idea, and that was hilarious. And I'm like, well, screw it. The only way I really know how to do this is in a booty suit. So I literally went up and I tried to go like not on my head but steep in a booty suit, and I was really smooth because I've got thousands of jumps at this point in a booty suit. So I competed in speed skydiving nationals in a booty suit. I know, it's hilarious, isn't it, with the booties on and everything, but it's aerodynamic. It's just got a little bit of extra drag with the grips and stuff. But anyway, it went really well. I ended up getting a place on the US team. That's funny. And I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? And so I asked myself the question, do I want to continue with it? If I do, what's the value? Like, these are the questions I ask myself. Is there value to me? Is there value to anybody else if I take this journey? Is it going to make me feel fulfilled? And I'm like, you know what? I think what I'd like to do is a journey which involves me trying to learn this new discipline. I've got a chance to go to the World Championships. Let me take that journey, throw the learning process at it, and share the journey to show people what it's like to learn. And not to care about the failures along the way, but how can we embrace a process where we've got no idea of what the outcome is? The outcome's actually not even that important. It's like, I just want the journey. I want to see if I can learn something new. And how far can I get in a year? I went and knocked on one of my favorite drop zone owners' doors, Doug Smith up at Chicagoland Skydiving Center. I'm like, hey, Doug, I've got this crazy idea. What do you think? And he's like, I love it. Do it. Come and train with the drop zone. We'll support you. And I moved to CSC up in Chicago and I trained my ass off for a year. And then COVID happened. I was like, ah! So suddenly this 1 year project became a 2 year project. Damn it.
Talk about hurry up and wait.
Oh my goodness. And so then I went and knocked on another DZO friend's door, Jorge Alonso down at Skydive Carolina. I'm like, can I come down in spring and come to your drops? And he's like, yeah, come on down. We'll do it. So between the two of them, love the fact that they supported it. I spent 2 years hucking myself out of a plane, trying to go head down, trying to learn how to go fast. And by the time I got around to going to Russia, I probably had clocked up about 450 training jumps.
Wow.
Which is a lot. My body hurt, I can tell you. And it wasn't all good. You know, like in the time I'd cork out, I put myself in a flat spin once, I gave myself whiplash. You know, this is all part of the journey. And this is why I want to share it. It's like, it's not all good stuff. Right. But persistence is what counts, because ultimately it's a numbers game. So speed skydiving, the jump itself, like the scoring window is 7,400 feet's worth. It's over in like 28 to 30 seconds. Yep. So every time you go make a jump and you're only going really fast down at the bottom, maybe the last 4 or 5 seconds, that working time is nothing, right? So the only way you get better is by doing it again and again and again. And with the support of my sponsors and the DZs, I was able to do that and able to get to a point where I was doing pretty decently, and went to Russia and performed pretty well. And I say performed pretty well. I got the gold medal and got the world record. But the only reason I kind of play that down a little bit is because ultimately the results, you know, the only thing that's important to me is competing against myself, because you never know who's going to turn up at the meet, whether you're going to win or not. So to me, actually, the medals and per se isn't about it. To me, the competition is, can I go to a world championship and do as well as I've done in training? Can I get better? Can I go faster compared to my own results? So we went all the way to Siberia in the middle of a pandemic. Wow. That was one hell of a journey. I feel like everybody that went there, honestly, and managed to make it to Siberia should earn a medal. Right. That was a trip. It was a trip. And I mean that in every way, shape or form. And it was a crazy, wonderful experience. But after that, the journey was done for me. Like, that was the whole point. My goal was the journey and to share it. So came back after Russia, and we got to do lots of wonderful media about skydiving and about speed skydiving, because myself and my teammate Kyle Lopriest both got the gold. So it was kind of like one of those beautiful PR moments, you know, like the fastest man and woman in the world, or all that kind of like the BS that comes with it. And we got to do all sorts of wonderful interviews, which helps the sport. But I was kind of, at that point, I was kind of done because the journey had been done. But the World Championships this year were in Eloy. It's home turf, defending champions, and it was just another opportunity to wear the jersey one more time and represent. And so we just did the World Championships in October. And I didn't do a lot of training this year because I was doing other things, but managed to take the silver and stand up on the podium with a jersey, which is wonderful. And then I retired.
Nice.
Dropped the mic. So I just retired from competition after 17 years.
So what was the world record in Siberia? What was your speed?
Actually, you know what? Here's the interesting thing. I wasn't very fast in Siberia, but I still got the world record, and I think it was 443 kilometers an hour. But I broke it again when we came back to Arizona. When we came back to Arizona for nationals that year, because it's super fast in Arizona, both Kyle and I broke the records again. And my record back then was 459 kilometers an hour. And since then, my record has actually been broken by someone else, as has Kyle. So Kyle and I are no longer the world champions or the world record holders. But here's a really important point to make about that. We both love that. I love the fact that people are out there doing it, going hard. And records are there to be broken. And I love the fact that people are inspired to go and break them. So I don't want to hold a record for very long. You know what I mean? It's great to have them, but I want to see people go out there and go faster. And they are crushing it right now. Like the world champion, the new world champion, Marco Het, went 528 kilometers an hour.
All right.
It just blows my mind.
First off, that's insanely fast. I can't wrap my head around that really, so I'm not even going to try, but I will ask because I know very little about it. When are you starting to come out of that speed and how? Because, I mean, you're wearing slippery stuff for these kind of jumps. How the fuck are you slowing down and not rip your head off when it comes time to deploy?
Well, so we're definitely slowing down to normal deployment speeds. Otherwise, you end up with whiplashes. In training. But it's like any head down jump, I guess. You know how people flare out of the dive, at the bottom. And so you've got so much vertical speed that if you still stay long but put some curvature in your body, a lot of that vertical gets translated into a lot of horizontal, right?
Sure.
But it's amazing how quickly you can decrease your speed. So, for example, we get out at about 13,000 feet. The scoring window finishes at about 5,600 feet. I've got both my audible set at 5.5. That's the bottom of the dive, effectively, or just below the bottom of the dive. As soon as I hear those go, I tighten my core, put my butt up in the air, and start to generate a de-arched position. And that brings me out of the vertical dive and puts me into a massive horizontal space,
Wow.
And then you have to keep putting the brakes on and keep making sure you translate that vertical to horizontal. And then it honestly doesn't take that long. By sort of 4,000, 3.5, I've slowed down and I could deploy.
Well, I mean, that's
But it took a while to get used to that. I'm not going to lie, especially as someone who's not a head down flyer. I remember when I started, I was really struggling with that for sure. And I remember asking my good friend Mel Firth, I'm like, dude, you've got to teach me how to flare out of a head down dive because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
That was one of those areas as a belly flyer I didn't know how to do. I had to seek out help.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just with everything. The more you do it, the better you get at it,
I mean, that's still got to be so physically demanding. I mean, just coming out of a normal head down can be a bit demanding, but when you're talking about 400-500 kilometers an hour, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's something else.
Yeah, definitely. My shoulders were hurting quite a bit because like when you de-arch, you can just bring your shoulders in. So that was part of it. And then the other thing that actually I'd say was more challenging than anything is my neck. Because ultimately, and that's not so much about the flare out, it's in the dive. It's a matter of what you do with your head when you're going at those kind of speeds. I take a reference to the ground, so my neck is slightly tilted up, so it's not, my head isn't directly in line with my body.
Right.
Folks that have a lot more of a free fly experience can look out at the horizon and get a really good sense of whether they're vertical or not. But for me, I always took a reference. So I'd say probably 50-50 with the competitors. So yeah, my neck, you can imagine being in a dive at those kind of speeds when your neck is slightly out of alignment per se.
Right.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts a lot.
It's funny, we've beat the shit out of ourselves, and I'm sure you're a lot like me in that to another skydiver, all the aches and pains make sense. But to non-jumpers, It's an evening's conversation to explain exactly how we've fucked ourselves up over all these years doing something so often, and
Yeah.
it's really difficult to how come you've had surgeries and this and that, and throwing a drug, what's a drug, oh shit, here we
Oh
go.
God, yeah.
And it becomes that
Famines for
never-ending
sure, yeah.
conversation. So it's wild to try and put that into perspective, talking to a normal, I hate to say normal, a regular person as opposed to a
Yeah, for
skydiver.
sure.
But you say to a skydiver, yeah, I'm just beat to shit because I've been jumping 30 years.
Yeah, it's so interesting you mentioned that, Dean, because I've had a lot of conversations over the last 6 months with friends and colleagues and other competitors about their physical well-being right now. And our bodies are pretty beat up, most folks are telling me, like I'm in pain for a lot of the time right now, and a lot of the conversations are actually surrounding how do we look after our bodies, like what are we doing for pain management, what are you doing for health, like
Right.
how many times have you had your knees injected with PRP, like good grief. But then we don't really talk about it a lot, and I'm all about trying to be authentic about what it's like to be a full-time skydiver.
Yeah.
This shit really takes a toll on your body, and especially like I'm in my 50s, but the friends of mine that are in their late 30s, I mean, look at Pablo. Pablo's been doing it forever.
Yep.
I think he's still in his 30s, I think. You wouldn't guess with the gray hair on the man,
Right,
but I want to say, I think he's not, I don't think he's even 40 yet when I think about it. Maybe he is. Maybe I'm just being kind to him. But, he's a really good example of the wear and tear of 20 plus years, 20,000 jumps, whatever, on your body for someone who's still young. And it's a lot, man. Like you've just got to be aware of what it's going to do to your body and try and mitigate it as much as possible and just be careful,
Well, and
then you get the anomalies like Pete Allen, who's like older than me and is just so fit.
Yeah, and nothing phases him.
35,000 jumps in or whatever he is. God,
I know. When I had him on the podcast, it was just like this. It was just conversation, not video. And I'm just sitting there the entire time shaking my head going, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's
a good example of what physically, mentally, and everybody wants to be Pete Allen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's a wonderful human being, but he's a good example,
Well, and it's funny though, physically what you get used to, right? I mean, I don't know any longtime skydivers that aren't dealing with some level of pain to some degree every day.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is. I don't even think twice about it. Yeah.
I wouldn't do anything different. I'll just keep trying to mitigate it and have fun, otherwise what's the point?
Oh, I wouldn't trade it in for anything. Although it would be nice to know there was an old folks skydiver home in our future, but that ain't going to happen either.
Yeah, but at least and then that's one of the reasons why I sort of retired from competition as well. It's like there's other things that I would like to do with my time.
Sure.
And I also want to give my body a bit of a break from doing the extreme side of skydiving. So
sure.
Right now I get the joy of like I'm on my demo team, Highlight. We get to go to these places and we do one jump. And we get all the glory and all of the amazing feels, and that to me is the best way to be.
Well, and
bang for your buck.
I wanted to segue into that because I mean, especially lately, Highlight has been getting a lot of amazing press and doing some incredible stuff. But how did you get started with Highlight?
Well, I mean, Highlight is the brainchild of Amy Schmelecki and Melanie Curtis, both of which you've had on your podcast. I know Ray interviewed Amy quite recently too.
Yes.
And I might be repeating what they've said, but basically that demo team was put together to celebrate the centenary of the 19th Amendment back in 2020 and by the Women's Skydiving Network. And so we all got together in 2019 in order to try and train to put a couple of really big demonstrations together to jump into places of historic interest during 2020. And yeah, they put the call out and a bunch of people answered the call. We got interviewed and they put together probably the most extraordinary team in skydiving as far as I'm concerned.
Of absolute rock stars.
Oh my goodness. Just, honestly, I shared this the other day with Mel. I remember when we walked into Arizona, the first training the first training camp we ever did. We walked into the room and I look around and I'm just like, what did I do to get a seat at this table? Holy crap, this is the amazing,
who's who. The absolute who's who. And I mean, I've been lucky enough to have a few of the members on, but I mean, the concept is absolutely fantastic. And it seems to have grown much larger than, I mean, maybe it was always planned to go as big as it is, but especially including now Project 19 that just happened. You said you were there cheering
Yep.
them on. I mean, holy shit. It's just
Here's
incredible.
here's the thing. This is what we get. I get asked a lot. Wow, you guys are crushing it. Did you ever expect that you'd be doing what you're doing? The answer is yes, we did. It's intentional. This is exactly what can happen when you get that group of people together who can work together, become more than the sum of their parts in a humble fashion. Nobody's ego is bigger than the mission. Yes, it's exactly what we intended.
Which is awesome.
Yep. And it is just the start.
Oh, of that I have absolutely no doubt. Believe me, I
Yeah.
have a list of all the members that I'm trying to slowly tick off, everybody that I get on the podcast,
Yeah.
because it's all such incredible stories. I mean, Eliana, having her on she's obviously, it's fantastic to hear the origin stories and how people go about pushing their limits and going on to the next thing, and then taking
Yeah.
those individuals that have succeeded, going to something so much bigger and pushing it. I mean, holy shit. What can't you guys do?
Well, nothing. And I mean, here's the thing, like when I look at the group of people we have in that team, everybody brings a very specific skill set to the table. And so we're very complementary, and that's what's so good about it. Everybody has their own wheelhouse, their speciality. And when you have that in an environment where people are happy to share and willing to share and ask for help, that's when you start to do incredible things.
Sure.
There is no qualm about me turning around to, let's think, Alison. Alison's done a lot of jumps into stadiums. I was about to go and do a stadium jump into Dallas. I hit her up for help, and Eliana was going to have to do some really advanced accuracy into stadium. She came and asked me to help her with some advanced accuracy, trying to land in a target in a tight area. Like, we ask each other for help, and we therefore we're sharing our knowledge with each other, and that's why it's such an incredibly powerful opportunity for us, to see what we can do. And I have to say, we just did a demo just to share a little bit about what the kind of things that we do and how amazing they are.
Please.
But firstly, we're so lucky to have a platform where we can use skydiving as an outreach mechanism outside of skydiving. You know what I mean? Like, skydiving is effectively our metaphor for living these bold, brave lives of our own design, which is our mission, and it's a great way to touch people outside of skydiving. So we just did our last demo of the year was into an event in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's called Supergirl Surf Pro, and it's a whole weekend that's focused on young kids doing sports. It has a professional surfing competition, which is one of the very few for women actually, going on, which was super cool to watch. And then it's got soccer, it's got volleyball, it's got a music festival, it's got a DJ lineup, like it's the whole thing, like a massive weekend event. We got to land on the beach after the soccer tournament, bringing in big flags, streamers, smoke, and then we got to hang out with all the kids. We got to put flags around and take pictures with them, and the kids are just, that's it, man. That's why we do it. Like, interacting with those kids and the parents and what have you is everything.
And
the most rewarding thing.
They must just lose it. They absolutely must just freak out when you guys are coming in.
Everybody does, not just the kids, everyone. They're like, oh my God, look at that. And then when they realize that we're all women, blows their mind.
Which is, it's an amazing and an incredible thing, but it's a bummer that it's taken this long and that people are still surprised that a bunch of women are doing something so amazing.
I'm all about it, though. I don't care that they're surprised. I'm glad that they are. It's all about representation. We're making up for lost time, Dean. We're into it.
Fair enough. I've been getting my ass handed to me in the sport of skydiving by women for so damn long that it's never been a question in my mind that the women compete just as hard, if not dramatically better, than some of the men. So I guess I take it for granted, because I've started out getting my ass kicked by Craig and Tanya O'Brien way back in my skysurf days, years and years ago, when Tanya was just head and shoulders above anybody else with a board on their feet. And she was just a badass skydiver.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is amazing. Well, so please go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're still pretty underrepresented in skydiving, and I'm sure that will change, but it'll take time. And when I think back to even over competitions, there were multiple competitions when it was just Cornelia and I were the only women in world championships and World Cups. I think the most I've ever seen women-wise in swooping was maybe 4 or 5 one year, but mostly it was 2 or 3. But that's okay because it takes time, and we'll keep representing, and hopefully folks see that women are doing it and they think that they can do it too. And I mean, that's on the skydiving side. Outside of skydiving, seeing women do demos jumps is just a metaphor for the idea that women can do whatever is out there too. So, change doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't even happen in decades or sometimes in a lifetime.
Sure.
It took 72 years from the beginning of the suffrage movement to when the 19th Amendment was ratified. You just got to keep going out there and doing it and representing.
Boy, for a Brit, you know a lot more about the women's right to vote in the United States than a lot of women do, I bet. In the US.
You have to take a test when you become a citizen.
Yes. And I can almost guarantee you most, if not all of my American friends and myself included, probably wouldn't pass that test.
You're given 100 questions that you have to learn because they're going to ask you 10. I had so much fun asking all my American friends the questions. It's pretty funny.
I'm guessing it was pretty sad.
Well, some of them were complex. Some of them were things like, name 2 states that border Canada. So it wasn't.
All right, fair enough.
They're not all complicated.
So there's a few gimmies in there.
Yeah. Well,
fair enough. So, moving forward, you're still obviously you're coaching and doing all this stuff. You've hung up the spurs as far as competition goes. So, what's next for Maxine Tate?
Well, I'm definitely about trying to continue to collaborate with others to try and utilize what I consider my greatest gifts to try and move forward this idea of representation. Like a lot of what I do for Highlight is a great metaphor for what I want to continue to do. And I'm super driven to use that platform with my teammates to continue to see what's possible. And that to me is not outreach within the sport and outreach outside of the sport as well.
Sure.
So that's really where my focus lies. And right now I'd say I'm probably leading more of a values-based life than a task-orientated life, which someone who I really admire. God, I wish he was my friend. He's a great author called Adam Grant, and he's an organizational psychologist, and he says, in this never-ending world where it's very unpredictable, you can't really make a master plan. All you can do is gauge whether you are leading a meaningful life. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now. So no big master plans to dominate, but everything I do, I ask myself the question of whether I feel it's meaningful and whether it fulfills me and adds value. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, that's pretty rare air to live in right there. I think that most people don't get to a point in their lives where they're able to ask themselves those questions because they're too busy just grinding it out. So, I mean, that's a pretty special place to be.
Yeah, it is. And I'm good with it. I mean, it's a simple life and it's a life full of fulfillment. So
there's a whole lot to say for a simple life, isn't there? So tell me, people want to come train with you, they want to come jump with you, they want to sit and talk to you about Highlight and all that. How do they find out about you and what you've going on, and how do they find out about the team?
Yeah, for sure. So to find out about Highlight, you can go to Highlight Skydiving, which is on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on TikTok. Yep, you're never too old to be on TikTok, believe it or not. We have a YouTube channel. I am doing a monthly, I want to say podcast. Well, I guess it's a podcast of sorts, very much like this, called Highlight Conversations, which came from a conversation I had with the team. I felt like we needed to have more accessible mentorship and share our stories like this so people could understand and relate to it. So every month I am interviewing a member of my team.
Awesome.
And in fact, 2 days ago, Mel actually interviewed me. And Highlight Conversations is not just going to be about me interviewing my teammates. That's a wider umbrella term. And I'm looking forward to interviewing people who are outside of skydiving as well to dive into these ideas.
Awesome.
So if you want to, for anyone that wants to see that, is you can go to our YouTube channel, Highlight Skydiving, and you'll find it there in our playlist. If anybody is interested in getting in touch with me, whether I am still a Flight One instructor and a business partner, so that's still a huge part of my life. I feel very, very grateful to have the gift of knowledge that I've been given to pass on to people to help them with their canopy piloting skills. And I still do that, and I'm still loving going to drop zones and helping people with that. It's hugely rewarding. And every now and then I'm going to be running a speed skydiving skills camp. I'm actually doing one down in Skydive City in Z Hills over the Christmas period. And I load organize still. So I'm going to be load organizing in Z Hills. I'm load organizing in Costa Rica at the Tsunami Exotic Boogie in Costa Rica. That's the best deal in town, just saying. So I'm out and about at the drop zones enjoying, and you can get in touch with me either through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I'm either under Maxine Tate or Maxine Fly Girl, and or hit me up on socials. I'm always here to help people, and I get hit up. People are always in my DMs asking questions, and I'm here for it.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what, for a semi-retired person, you're pretty damn busy.
I say yes to the things I love doing, and I'm blessed to have a lot of things that I love doing right now. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm glad that we were finally able to get this done. We've been talking about it for quite some time. You were going to talk to our good mutual friend, Zedge, but it's always hit and miss trying to get people nailed down, especially with as busy as we can be. So I thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, dude, it's great to see your face. It's been a hot minute, and I hope we get to meet in person again sometime real soon.
Oh, we will. It's too small a world.
Yeah, for sure. You enjoy that winter in Finland, and I'll enjoy this beautiful snow up in Utah.
That's a deal. Take care.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the extreme sports collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Get on the